Record. Okay, now we're recording. Lights, camera, action. Okay. This is a fun group. It's like a nice mixture between, I have a couple of my previous private clients. And where's Tara? I tell you. Hopefully Tara joins too. Tara's also in the group and she is also one of my previous clients. Her and Angela were going through the program, my one-on-one program together. But I have like a nice, there's a lot of new ladies whom I've never met before. I have a couple previous resetters who've done one, two, three, four resets before, just previous one-on-one clients and new people. So that's always fun. I like when there's kind of like this solid mix of people. This was really a shot in the dark with timing today, but I forgot when I scheduled this that it would be Veterans Day. So maybe that actually worked because some people might have it off. I don't have it off. Well, yes and no, but I'm going to try to be flexible with times each week that we do this. Like if we can all come to a consensus on a time that works better, I'll try to do that. Otherwise, I usually just try to flip-flop. I'll do one kind of around this time, and then the next week I usually try to do like an evening one, like a 6 p.m. or something like that, unless people say different. But hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Whether you're here live or whether you're going to catch the replay later. I'm glad you guys are here. I'm Brandy. I'm Brandy Sheen, your guys' coach for the next 30 days. What about me? A little bit about myself. I have this health coaching practice. I've had this for maybe 7 years at this point in time. This is not my full-time job. I just do this for funsies. I actually do full-time children's mental health for Washington County. If anybody, a lot of you guys are somewhat local. So that's my big kid job. And I just do this because I love coaching. So that's a little bit about me. I live in St. Paul. My husband is a retired chef come realtor. I have a dog named Zool, if anybody knows Ghostbusters. I have a 3-year-old daughter named Murray, like Bill Murray. And I'm very passionate about women's weight loss and metabolic health. And that's kind of what got me started in here. I'm going to do a little quick housekeeping before we dive in. Very quick. You guys all got the housekeeping document in your email. Please read it if you have not, because it's going to kind of give you the lay of the land over the next 30 days. And I don't want to waste time. I have a hard cutoff at 12:30 because I do have another meeting at 1 o'clock. So I have a hard cutoff today, so I don't want to spend too much time talking about housekeeping. So anyways, these calls, I try to keep them about an hour. I have some notes over here that you can't see to try to keep me on track. But if you guys know me, you know that I often get off track and go off riffs and rants about all the things. So hopefully I can stay in line this. What else about the housekeeping? This is how it's going to be. Every week we're going to get in on a call together on Tuesdays. You guys have a weekly lesson that will post on Mondays and Thursdays. Okay, there's 2 lessons per week, Mondays and Thursdays, and then we come together on Tuesdays, maybe in the morning, maybe in the afternoon, maybe in the evening, and we're going to do this. This is super informal. If you know me, I'm super informal. Please, if you guys have questions, drop them in the chat, raise your hand, interrupt me. I love conversation. I'll try to pause at the end and offer a little time for Q&A if we have time today. If not, I'll make sure that I work it in on previous reset calls. So let's get rolling. I want to start with a question. And I know some of you guys answered this, but when you guys were doing your introductions, but I also think it's very, very important to be very clear about why you're here. Okay, so I want you guys to write it in the chat, or if you're catching the replay, you're gonna comment in the comment section. I want to know why you're here and why this is important to you, like why this is truly important to you. So drop it in there while you guys think on that. Okay, if it takes you a few minutes, I'm going to tell you why I created the reset. Well, why I created the reset, but why I created just my programs in general. Okay. So there's two ways to work with me. There's only two ways. It's like one program, but two ways. So there's the 30-day reset, which is kind of a low touch, cost effective, short effective, exploration into my weight loss strategy, my weight loss methodology. That's what you guys are in right now. And then I have my one-on-one program, which is 2 months long. And it's more of like my high touch, personalized, individualized coaching program that I like referenced Angela and Tara were just recently in it. So why I created my programs, I spent, who's not feeling about me? I'm going to check the comments too as I go. I spent half my life, I'm 38 for reference if you guys care, but that's how old I am. I spent half my life being an excellent dieter. Okay. Not a badge that I'm particularly proud of, but I did everything right. I did what I was supposed to. I tracked my food. I weighed my food. I counted my food. I earned my food. I burned my food, right? Where we get in that weird relationship with food and exercise where we eat to work out and then we work out to burn our food. I nailed all my workouts. I did all the cardio. I did all the diets, right? Keto, Weight Watchers, fasting, macros, the cabbage soup diet. If you guys tried that, I'm sure there's some of you in here that have tried that. Slim Fast. Thanks to my mom, I caught onto the Slim Fast chain and I tried it all. And yet nothing ever worked for me. I felt miserable. I felt very obsessive. I felt super disconnected from my body. My dieting started when I was young. And I watched my mom diet. Now, like, no hate, no shame to my mom. I love my mom. She was only doing what she learned to do. But we all learn our habits and our relationship with food and health somewhere. And it usually goes back to childhood. Now, that's not something we're going to take a deep dive into the reset about. But it is something just to noodle on. Like where did I learn my thoughts and my behaviors about food and bodies and all of that thing? And many of us will probably trace that back to our moms or our grandmothers or other women that we were exposed to in our earlier years. But I watched my mom struggle with food. I watched her, God, I hope my mom never watches these. It would be very impossible, but you know. I watched her struggle with her weight. I watched her never sit down and eat a meal with her family. I watched her get very, very thin and then kind of go back to like a normal amount of weight and just this constant yo-yo. There was always Diet Coke in the fridge. There was always low-fat yogurt and the low-fat Triscuits and the Slim Fast. Like that is what my mom lived off of. And when I was younger, I don't really remember really thinking anything about it, but it's interesting to look back and realize how a lot of that shaped my narrative around dieting and my body and losing weight and all of the things. So fast forward through another decade of dieting, which dieting eventually led into eating disorders and a bad relationship with food and my body. I just thought to myself, like, is this what I have to do for the rest of my life? Like, this is the way I have to engage with food the rest of my life in order, mind you, my intention back then was to be thin, right? Like, because that's what we've all been taught, like be thin, be skinny. That's the culturally acceptable body. So like, that's what I was trying to do. And I just was like, this is the only way to do that. This is how I have to, you know, behave and engage with my food for the rest of my life in order to stay small. And I just thought, like, there has to be another way. Like, what about the people who don't want to engage with food like that anymore? What about the people who don't want to micromanage their food and count and weigh everything, kill themselves in the gym every day, step on a stupid bathroom scale every day just to measure their progress? Like, what about those people? Because those are my people. I'm those people. Those are the people that want to kind of reach their health goals and just coexist with food and their bodies in a more peaceful, less culturally obsessive way. So just something to think about, like we are the only species. And when I say species, I'm going to elaborate on this later, but I conceptualize health through evolution. And if you don't believe in evolution, that is totally fine. You can just think back generationally, think back to your great grandparents all the way back and just kind of think about how they would have lived their lives, the food they would have been eating and things like that. But I conceptualize it through evolution. And we are the only species who pay people who pays other people to tell us how to eat. I mean, it sounds bizarre when you say it out loud. And I say that empathetically because you guys essentially paid me to tell you how to eat. But every other animal on the planet eats intuitively and kind of stays in this balance, right? Somehow, even with our the biggest brains of them all, we've complicated eating to the point of just sheer confusion, to the point where people are paralyzed because they don't know how to eat anymore, right? You open Instagram and it's like, do this, do that, eat meat, don't eat meat. That's too much fat, more fat, no carbs, more carbs, bananas will kill you. Did it like, it's the Wild West out there. I'm almost embarrassed to be a part of to be a part of this system. My job, hopefully, is to kind of uncomplicate and unconfuse you guys by the end of these 30 days. So I want to talk about the metabolism because that is the space I work in. I am a metabolic health coach, okay? Oops. Closed out of my windows. So what is our metabolism? I feel like this is a little bit of a buzzword that gets thrown around and nobody really knows what. Half the people that talk about metabolism online have no idea how the body actually works. But your metabolism is your body's fuel system, okay? How the food that you eat is converted to human fuel to power our bodies, right? That makes sense. It decides whether the food that you eat gets used for energy, right? It gets into our cells, and our cells, the whole Krebs cycle and ATP and all of that stuff. You guys remember back to like 9th grade biology class. So the metabolism decides whether the food you eat gets used for energy or it gets stored as fat on your body. And here's a myth that I just want to kind of bust, for the lack of better words, about metabolism. Our metabolism does not respond to calories or macros. Everybody loves their diet math, but that boat has sailed. Nobody is getting healthier by following diet math. And our metabolism does not respond to arbitrary numbers in the first place. It responds to signals, okay? Our metabolism responds to signals. Food, light, movement, sleep, stress, all the things. This system, our metabolism, is a very ancient system, okay? It doesn't care what our bikini goals are. It just wants to keep you alive, okay? So if you want to lose weight, which that is many people's goals here, it might not be everybody's, but a good majority have weight loss goals, which rightfully so, because that's what I do. If you want to lose weight, we have to learn how to play nice with our metabolism. We are all humans are like 99.99999% genetically identical, okay? Our bodies work the same way. Women, men, kids, everything and anything in between, our metabolisms work the same way. What changes our outcomes is how we signal, okay? The signals that we give our bodies, the signals that we give our genes. It's called gene expression. And this is going to sound a little bit nerdy for a second, but I think it's important to mention. Okay, so there's something called gene expression. You think of them like little light switches that we turn on or off depending on our inputs, okay? Things like diet, stress, movement can activate or deactivate certain genes and pathways in our body. While we might be predisposed to certain things, right? Maybe you're predisposed to high blood pressure. Maybe you're predisposed to cancer. Maybe you're predisposed to diabetes or obesity or things like that. Our inputs is what influences if those unhealthy genes express themselves or not, right? Our inputs decide whether those genes get flipped on or flipped off. So the point of this is to help you guys understand that we have a lot of influence over this. We have a lot of influence over our genes, our bodies, our body composition. Genes are not our destiny. Everybody's probably heard that. This should be good news, okay? We're in control of this. Our DNA's health setting, our DNA's default setting is health, okay? We got to understand that. Our DNA is meant to be healthy. If it wasn't, our species would have died out millennia ago, okay? It's not sickness, it's not metabolic dysfunction, it's health. Our bodies really want us to be healthy. So we have to essentially what we're doing in the reset is we're kind of realigning those inputs with what our little ancient old bodies expect from us. We have to go backwards in order to move forward. Okay. Is everyone following so far? I haven't caught, like, nobody's like, Brandy, literally, what the hell are you talking about right now? Okay, good. Sometimes I get that, and that's fine. So everybody's following so far. Let me check in the Facebook group here just to make sure everybody got in that was trying to get in. Yes. No messages. Okay. All right. Week one. This week's theme, out with the old, in with the new. You guys all got your weekly lesson yesterday. And there was a subsequent post with a food list. Hopefully everybody saw both of those lists. The number one thing that you guys can do right now to set yourself up for success is to clean up your environment. Okay? That means the purge. There is a lot of research on weight loss. Okay? And one of the hallmark behaviors of people who have lost weight and kept weight off is the environment that they have, right? And when I'm talking about our environment, I'm mostly talking about our homes because that is the environment a lot of us are in, but also anything, right? Maybe it's your office or things like that. The people who have healthy, supportive food around are more likely to lose weight and keep it off versus the people who keep the stuff that we already know we probably shouldn't be eating around, okay? Every client I've ever seen struggle are the ones who keeps like the treats and the trigger foods in their house. Okay, you guys already know like chips and cookies and ice cream and candy and whatever. Like they're probably not the best option in the world. You don't need me to tell you that. You don't pay me the big bucks to tell you that. We already know that. Okay, so this week the mission is pretty simple. I want you guys to make a plan to get rid of the foods that don't support you and replace them with the foods that do. Does this mean that we can't have treats again? No, not at all. If you guys have been following me for a while, you know I am on team treats. Like animals are, or animals, humans, human animals, we are hedonistic creatures, right? We are driven by pleasure and we seek food, we seek pleasure from food. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I think about part of sustaining diets is being able to lean into our hedonistic desires sometimes. Okay. Somewhere along the line here, treats began to sneak onto our everyday plate. Okay. So we got to put them back where they belong and put them back into that treat zone. Okay. So the next, let me think of where I want to go with this. Just for sake of time, the elimination protocol. Okay. You guys saw that in your lesson yesterday. I know there is probably a knee-jerk reaction to the word elimination, but hear me out. It can be really, really hard to understand how foods affect us and affect our bodies if we keep eating them. And the foods that I'm asking you to momentarily take out can be known irritants for many people. So we got to like do a little bit of detective work here and check it out for ourselves. This is why I always tell people like take off your dieting hats, okay? Because if you picture this from a dieting perspective, all you're going to think of is like I can't have this. This feels so restrictive. I'm so deprived. We got to put on our detective hats. Like, no, I really want to learn what food supports me and what food doesn't. And if any of these foods potentially are causing me problems or getting in the way of me losing weight, that's something we want to know, right? So we can make an informed food decisions moving forward. So here's what we're pausing. Here's what we're pausing for now. The foods that cause inflammation and foods that kind of mess with our metabolic signaling. So your lesson on Thursday that will be posted will take a little bit deeper dive into like the nitty gritty of why I'm asking you to take these foods out. But for now, let's just work on getting them out. Number one, grains. This might be a surprise to people. Does anybody feel like, and you know, you can raise your hand if you want, but is anyone surprised when I say that grains are not a good food for human beings? Because we're kind of taught like grains are they're the base of our food pyramid, and they're the modern day diet is really based around grains. So sometimes people are really surprised when I ask them to take out grains. So grain foods, wheat, corn, rice, barley, oats, Did I miss any grains? Wheat's gonna, no. And all their derivatives, right? Cookies, breads, baked goods, chips, crackers, tortillas, all of those things. Whole grains, refined grains, doesn't really make a difference to me. Don't worry, like you're not going to lose any nutrition on this by not eating grains, despite being the center point of the modern diet. They offer relatively little nutrition. Okay. There isn't anything that you can get from a grain that you can't get from a different food in a more appropriate way. So, grains, legumes, okay, beans, kidney, garbanzo, lentils, peanut butter, peanuts. What else? Soybeans, tofu, things like that. Those are all kind of in that legume family. Number 3, excessive sugar. I'm not the sugar police, and but not green beans. Yes, green beans are okay. Green beans are okay. I really hate the modern day narrative about sugar. Like the war on sugar and all of those things, and kind of that fear mongering angle about sugar. So again, I'm not the sugar police. Like natural sugars from like your fruit and your starches and your vegetables, right? Broccoli is a sugar, for heaven's sakes. I'm talking about like the sugary stuff, like candy and sodas and anything that's like really sweet laden. Anything that's going to give you kind of that sugar rush. Large amounts of sugar in the diet can trigger inflammation. That's pretty well established science at this point. There's also more and more, if you are, because I know I've had a lot of conversations with you about kind of perimenopause, menopause. I have an entire lesson devoted to this, but if you are in that phase of life, it is probably even more important for you to get a handle on inflammatory foods in your diet, because our bodies become simply less resilient with the decline in estrogen. So things that maybe we could get away with eating in our 20s and 30s and maybe early 40s and things like that, provoke a bigger response in our bodies after we start going through this transition into menopause. So we're going to work on you becoming a nutritionally robust human being so we can hopefully not sail through perimenopause, but just maybe mitigate some of the symptoms from a nutritional standpoint. So excessive sugar, seed oils. This also might be new to people. So seed oils, canola, soybean oil, sunflower, safflower, any like the generic vegetable oil that we probably used to cook with in the 80s or 90s. Toss anything made with these, okay? Even if you don't cook with them, these oils are pretty sneaky. Go look in your refrigerator, look at your condiments and your sauces and your salad dressings and things like that, and get rid of them, okay? Again, I'll go into this more on Thursday, but they're just kind of these man-made oils, fake fats that are really hard on our body and create a lot of like mitochondrial cellular damage to our bodies, of which we don't want. Number 5, I know this sounds like a big list, but it's not. Dairy, okay? Don't hate me. You're going to ask if you can have cream in your coffee. But yeah, it is all called vegetable oil, which is funny because none of those things are actually made with vegetables. It's a very deceiving, it was a marketing ploy to get you to buy those because it was marketed as heart healthy, right? The vegetable oil had the little heart stamp, and none of it's made with vegetables. Like the canola oil is made from like a rapeseed. Rapeseed? I don't even know what that is or where it comes from, but I know there's no oil on it. Like we have to do a lot to that seed to actually extract the little amount of oil it has onto it. So we're all just gonna, even if you don't fully understand that, just trust me on this one. Dairy. Okay. I know it feels like I'm taking some maybe of your like favorite foods right now, but take a temporary break from, milk, cream, yogurt, cheese, whey protein, things like that. People think it's about lactose. Okay. Wisconsin to eliminate cheese. I know. And here's the thing. If it feels really hard, just pick one area to focus on, okay? If you're like, I cannot imagine life without cheese right now, maybe focus on the grains right now. And then when you get kind of your bearings going, then you can, and just remember guys, this is a moment in time, just a couple weeks without this to gauge, how do you feel? What do we notice? Things like that. And if you don't notice anything, great. Because there is a degree to what people feel that's like, Angela knows that wheat is not her friend. I know that wheat is not my friend. Tara can handle some of that a little bit better than Angela and I can. So but you'll never know this unless you do it. You got to run the experiment. I do just fine with dairy. I've taken it out 100 times in my life. And I know what I can tolerate and what I can't tolerate. So we got to run those experiments. But a lot of people think it's just about lactose. A lot of people are actually lactose intolerant. Believe it or not, most of us are lactose intolerant simply due to the fact that when we're born, we're either drinking breast milk or we're drinking formula that has lactose in it. And then as we get older, most of us just stop drinking that, right? We're not consuming a lot of lactose anymore. So the enzymes that we use to break that down just kind of fall out of our body, for lack of better words. So there are actually a lot of people who are lactose intolerant, but I'm not just talking about lactose. I'm talking about the proteins that are found in dairy, the whey and casein proteins. Okay. Those can also stir up trouble for people, and they can be kind of common triggers for gut irritation and inflammation and immune reactions. So if you are somebody with like autoimmune issues, you can be even more sensitive to these things. Last thing, snacks. I took the snacks away. I'm taking them away, you guys. Any of the snack foods, right? The hyper palatable things that we mindlessly eat and we don't realize that we just ate an entire bag of chips, right? The chips, the candy, the pretzels, the crackers, all of that stuff. Time to hit pause on those right now. I promise you guys that once you really start anchoring into your meals, snacking will dissipate. And anybody who's taken my programs can confirm that this is true. Like the need to snack, at least, right? There might be a habitual reason for you snacking, but like the physiological reason for you to snack because like you're hungry or something like that will completely dissipate. Okay. You just won't need to anymore because you're going to feel so satiated with your meals. So if you guys can, up for the challenge, take these things out for 14 days. The main things is like the grains, the oils, and the dairy. Okay. Like snacking, I hope after this program, you'll realize that we probably shouldn't be snacking. And the people who are snacking are probably the people who really don't need to be snacking. Okay. Anybody, I'm going to pause. I'm going to open the chat for a second. Give me a minute to read through these. If you guys have any questions, drop them in, or if you just want to raise your hands or anything, but let me just look at this. Yeah, so many different ways to lose weight. Obnoxiously, so many ways to lose weight. Yeah, Angela, that is one of the reasons you came to me, Angela, just like that. The noise in the diet space. Like, I mean, it's ridiculous. I do, you guys, and I say the cheese thing with like a lot of love because I fucking love cheese. Love cheese. Like delicious, pungent, hard cheeses. Mm. But I have taken it out and I've run the experiment. There's also like a lot of nuance, and we can talk about this later about like the kind of dairy that we're eating. If you have problems with dairy, there's other dairy that you can be eating and kinds of cheeses that might be less problematic for you. So there's that piece. But so I don't want to tell you guys like what you can eat and what you cannot eat. Okay. I'm going to give you parameters and I'm going to let you establish what you want to do with that. Okay. If you want to keep chips in the house, totally your guys' choice. Never judgment. No judgment. But you guys are the adults. You guys get to control what food comes into your house or not. But I am asking you guys to understand that not only do these foods look yummy because of our biology, but these foods are engineered, literally engineered, to make them hyper palatable and irresistible. There are literally PhD level food scientist whose sole job is to create food that intentionally lights up your little pleasure and reward centers of your brain to make it extremely difficult for you to stop eating foods once you've started. Okay. So I need you guys to understand that piece of it. So now that we got rid of the unsupported food, go stock up your kitchen with the real food. If you haven't yet, go to the grocery store today, make a list, do your thing, do the pantry purge, all of that stuff. The real foods: meat, eggs, fish, poultry, vegetables, fruits, nuts, seeds, fermented foods, and dairy if tolerant. That's a little list. I've said it 1 million times at this point, and you're going to be able to rattle that list off by the end of these 30 days exactly like I did. These are human foods, okay? Your foods that your biology recognizes. Can you talk? Yes, avocado oil. How will you do? Carrie, I binge eat at night after I go to bed. Yep. So all of these things, Jen, Carrie, so will you tell us what to replace the oil that I cook with? So cooking oils, so we use butter, we use ghee, we use coconut oil, we use avocado oil. Like there's tons of different oils, like any animal-based oils. And then like your avocado oil or your coconut oil. We just like we like render, I don't know if that's the correct word, but we make our own ghee with butter because I just prefer ghee over butter. And you can use that at a higher smoke point. And then dressings, there's a lot of dressing brands, and I'll pop them into the group later, but like Primal Kitchen has a dressing line. You just gotta like go to the grocery store and like just tip over your condiment and just look that it's like an avocado oil based dressing. Okay, is really what you're gonna, avocado oil or olive oil. I know, is it Angela, is it you or Tara that had a really good dressing? Tara? Okay. And I'll see if Tara makes her own dressing. It was like olive oil, but it was like really, really simple. There was like 3 ingredients in it. So a couple things like that. Can you talk about members who want to keep those things? I did put, and I'll tag everyone in it because I think, Lisa, did you ask? Okay. And I gave like 4 or 5 suggestions about how to kind of do the pantry purge without pissing off your family, essentially. Because I do understand that your families did not sign up for this as well. I will make the argument here, though, that I'm not asking you guys to take out these foods because you're dieting. Okay, like this. Oh, Lisa, will you mute yourself, Lisa?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. But I do want to point out, like, I'm not asking you guys to take out these foods because you're dieting. Okay, like that's not the point. I'm asking you to take out these foods because they can cause harm to human beings. And our husbands are human beings, our children are human beings most of the time. Sometimes it doesn't feel like it. Our kids, all of us are human beings that probably could benefit from eating more human nutrition. So I just want to point that out. But again, I don't want to cause conflict or pressure in your house. So you have to figure out what the reasonable amount of like negotiation with your family members will be. And yeah, Lisa did ask this in the group, so go back there, and I did bullet point like 5 ways that you can kind of do this pantry purge with family members in mind. Olive oil is perfectly okay. Yep. What time am I at? 12:05. I'm making good time. What else did I want to talk about today? Willpower. I want to just really quick, I want to talk about willpower and discipline. I want to talk about the myth of willpower, actually. If I could like lobotomize one word from the dieting world, it would be willpower and discipline. No one here lacks willpower, okay? Like you're here, right? Like that's proof that nobody lacks willpower. And nobody lacks discipline either. This is one of my biggest, and this is like me getting on my like slight feminist horse right now, is I think women are some of the most disciplined people I know. Literally some of the most disciplined people I know. We're out there working jobs. We're out there taking families. We're out there running households. We're out there raising kids. We're out there taking care of our aging parents and moving up the corporate ladder in your job, or maybe you're a stay-at-home mom doing all the things. Like, there is no lack of discipline in our blood. But we've been really sold this narrative in the dieting space that we can't stick to shit because it's discipline. And I just want to call BS on that stuff, because that is not the case. The thing is that we're so busy putting all of our discipline into the things that matter in our life that we don't have time to put it into hardcore, tedious, punitive, shitty dieting, and we get burnt out because we don't have enough left. We don't have enough mental bandwidth left to make dieting a second time job. And that's why we fail out. Okay. So it's a strategy problem, not a you problem. Okay. All right. Stepping off that podium here for a second. Thanks, Angela. So I just want everybody to toss out the words willpower and discipline, right? Like, who here has tried to rely on willpower to get through a diet? Just about everyone. I have too, and it worked, right? Maybe it worked for a while until it didn't. Willpower is like a phone battery, okay? It runs out really, really fast, especially when life gets stressful. I just don't think basing our health supporting behaviors on willpower, or even motivation for that matter, is a really good move. And I know that diet culture likes to preach that if you just had more discipline, you could stick to your plan, you could hit your macros, you could resist the cookies. And then when you can't, they tell you it's your fault, right? You need to work harder. You must not be counting right. Literally hate that. It's all garbage. I just want to officially absolve you guys from any guilt or shame that you've ever felt because you didn't have enough willpower for your diet to stick to your diet. It's not a you problem, you guys. It's a biology problem, and biology always wins. Okay. Hunger will always win. You're not lazy. You're not broken. You're not weak. It's just literally how we are wired. Humans evolved to eat. Okay. We are wired to eat as much as we can, whenever we can, as fast as we can. Okay. It's a survival mechanism that is literally baked into our DNA. The people who sought out food and sex were the ones who survived and passed on their genes. That makes sense. Our brains even reward those behaviors with dopamine to make sure we keep doing them, right? Because the whole point of anybody on earth is to pass on your genes and survive, right? Back then, though, food was scarce. So when our ancestors stumbled across something like a honey hive, they risked their lives climbing up a tree and fighting off bees. And then when they got to that honey hive, do you think they were worried about the calories in it? Do you think they were putting it on a fucking food scale and being like, oh God, this is too many macros. God, save this for later. No, we binged on it. We're hardwired to binge on sugar. We're hardwired to binge on high, calorically dense, energy dense food because we didn't know when we were going to get it again. Okay. That instinct to feast when food is available is something that kept us alive. So it's actually a really neat thing. But fast forward to now, food is everywhere, literally all the time. Our biology hasn't changed, but our environments have. So when you guys find yourself struggling to moderate your food or have just one, it's not a lack of discipline. It's just a mismatch between, this really old ancient wiring and modern convenience. That's why the whole everything in moderation advice is shitty advice. And it does not work for most people. We were not built for moderation. We were built to feast and to fast. Okay. So in other terms, we were built to eat and then to not eat. Okay. We weren't built to graze and to nibble and to snack ourselves throughout a day. So if you've got the tempting, unsupportive foods around, of course, it's going to be harder to make good decisions. Okay. Not because something's wrong with you, but because you're human. So this is where we have to accept our biology and then take personal responsibility of what we choose to bring into our environments, given the knowledge that you guys all know now. Okay. Just checking the chat here. I'm going to click out of the chat while I'm talking because sometimes I get distracted and look at it. Okay. The last piece. Everyone still with me? I know this is a lot of yapping at you guys today. Okay, but I got some head nods, so you guys don't think I'm crazy yet. The last thing I want to talk about is your very first food fundamental. Okay. Eat meals, ditch the snacks. It's simple. I mean, it sounds really, really simple, although it's a very hard thing to do. Each week, you guys are going to get two food fundamentals that kind of layer onto each other. This one sets the tone for everything else. Okay. Eat meals, not snacks. Here's what that means. And if you guys want to hear me talk about snacking more, tune into my stories today because I went off on a riff and rant about snacking. So you guys can tune into that later if you want. If you're not following me on social media, I talk a lot on social media, but often these conversations that I have with you guys and my private clients and things like that give me things to talk about on social media that you might feel is very like complimentary of what you guys are learning in the reset. So here's what this fundamental means. Every time you feel hungry, you're going to make a real meal of human food and you're going to eat it until you reach satiety. Okay? That's it. If you need snacks between your meals, it's usually a sign that your meals aren't really doing their jobs. And it sounds really simple, right? Like you guys are probably thinking, Brandy, like this sounds really dumb. Like, of course, eat when you're hungry, don't eat when you're not. But that's not what we do. Literally, this is not what we do. Most of us don't act, we eat or don't eat for all kinds of reasons that have nothing to do with hunger, right? We eat because the clock says it's lunchtime. We eat because someone brought cookies to work. We eat because your diet app, we don't eat because your diet app says you ran out of calories or macros for the day. We eat because we're bored, or we don't eat because we're fasting, right? But here's the truth. Hunger is a physical cue, okay? Not a moral cue. Real hunger shows up in your belly. You're going to feel it in your belly, okay? That's your cells signaling to your brain that nourishment is needed, fuel is needed, and then it cues up hunger that we feel in our belly to make it very obvious to us that we need to eat food because essentially food goes into our belly, okay? When you feel hunger in your head, okay, maybe you get hangry if you don't eat or you're too hungry, you get dizzy, you get nauseous, you get anxious. That's not normal hunger, okay? That's just like, that's a sign that your metabolism needs a little help and that you are in the right spot for that. And for some of you, hunger might be confusing because you've spent years overriding it and not listening to it and fearing it, right? Dieting, counting, restricting, all of that dulls your natural hunger and fullness cues. So part of this reset is to like learn to trust your body again. You guys, we're rebuilding that relationship by honoring hunger with a meal, not a snack, not a handful of something, not a protein bar, not this because I'm too busy to cook for myself. You can't be too busy to feed yourself. That's not a radical dieting skill. That's just adulting, okay? The second part of this food fundamental is eating to satiety, okay? Two parts. Eat a meal of food when you're hungry and eat that said meal all the way to satiety. So satiety is the state of being well fed, okay? Like the state of contentment. Satiety is your body's natural enough, your enough sign. It's that moment when you're like comfortably full and you can just walk away from your plate. You know, you're just like eating, and then all of a sudden you're like, man, I got to put down the fork. Welcome to satiety. That is your natural satiety point. Diet culture has trained women, especially trained women, to eat like birds, okay? We've been trained to graze, to nibble, to eat small meals, eat dainty, to stop short of true satisfaction. But satiety isn't overeating, you guys. It's adequate eating, okay? We got to tune back into adequate eating. For many of you, this might feel like a lot at first because this might be for the first time ever that you're actually eating enough food, enough nourishment, but we have to lean into that. And here's my beef with like calorie counting and stuff. Calorie counting, macros, portion control, they teach you to let arbitrary numbers dictate when you're done eating, okay? That's not satiety, that's obedience. We're not gonna do that. So I want you guys to, and here's a little experiment that you guys can run. When you sit down for your meal, when hunger calls, put more food on your plate than you think you'll eat. I'm serious. Like scramble yourself 8 eggs if you have to. But just put more food on your plate, especially protein, and then eat until your body clearly tells you that it's done. Okay? You'll get a signal and you're going to be like there's going to be like a slight aversion to you wanting to eat any more food. That is your real satiety point. So that might be something that you guys want to practice. I truly think that once we're like well nourished, everything else gets easier. The emotional eating, the late night snacks, the sugar cravings, the boredom eating, the food noise, all of these like self-declared habits that we give ourselves, all of this quiets down when we properly feed ourselves with the right nourishment. Okay? You got to trust me on this. That's it for week 1 fundamental. Eat meals, ditch the snacks, and start trying to listen to your body again. You literally can't mess this up, you guys. I just want to say, like, you literally can't mess this up. Does anybody have any questions? That was a lot. I've got 15, 14 minutes or whatever that, I'm not good at math. You guys get it. I got to leave at 12:30 sharp. So if anybody has questions, unmute yourself or you can put it. Okay, so how does one tackle late night hunger? Eating more during the day. I think that's where it's going to come in. Most women that I meet that struggle with eating at night or like after dinner, right? We eat dinner and then we find ourselves like knees deep in a bag of potato chips in the pantry. First thing, get rid of the potato chips. Second thing, this is where eating meals will come in handy. Okay. So really try to lean into eating meals and eating them all the way to satiety and then see what happens over the next week or so with the late night snacking and come at it from a detective angle, not like, oh God, I suck, I'm late night snacking again. Cause you know, trying to change from a place of shame doesn't work for anyone. Okay. So we have to come at this from a different angle. So come at it from a detective angle, like what's happening. I don't have any really parameters around what should be on our plate as long as it's not the foods that I asked you to remove, like the grains, the snacky foods, things like that. So you guys have that food list. If not, just kind of scroll back. I also try to pin them all to the top of the group. So all the lessons, I'm going to try to remember to pin to the top of the group and the food list, and I'll pin to the top of the group. But there's no, at least right now, okay? Like, again, these food fundamentals are going to layer, and you guys are going to get more and more direction with this. But for right now, I just want you guys to try to eat when you're hungry, stop when you're satiated, focus on getting those unsupportive foods out, and focus on filling your plates with the supportive foods. Like you said, protein, fruit, veg, absolutely nothing wrong with that. Everybody start sharing your food pics. It's going to sound obnoxious, but do it because I can give you feedback on your meals, but I can't if you don't post them. Sometimes my meals are just protein because I like protein. Sometimes there's fruit. I'm not a huge vegetable fan. Okay, nothing wrong with vegetables. I just don't prefer vegetables, so I don't eat a lot of vegetables, and I'm not super worried about it. So yeah, sorry, I kind of got sidetracked by the late night hunger. Lisa, focus on your meals. And I just want you to gauge it over the next week or two and see if you're still struggling with late night hunger, and we can just problem shoot it. When we eat a meal. Like I need to eat lunch when I am off this call. What should I eat? I'm not going to make a whole meal for lunch. Carrie, walk me through that for a minute. So did you already have a breakfast, or is this going to be your first meal, Carrie? Mm. Okay. I was thinking just again candy. I mean, yeah, I love pickles. Canned chicken, mayo, nothing wrong with that. Look at your mayo, just out of curiosity. Like if there's canola oil or something in it right now, not a big deal. Just like eat it and then find a different one, but that's a good thing to check. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Think like, look back at the food list, think like meat, protein, right? Vegetables, fruit, non-grain based starches, right? Like potatoes, winter squash. Somebody said that winter squash didn't make it to my food list. That is such a bummer because I love winter squash, like acorn squash, butternut squash, all the things. All of that are fine. They're non-grain based starches. Potatoes, carrots, all of those more starch based vegetables, all of that stuff is good to go. Okay. So anything, any fruits that you like, any vegetables that you like, whatever meat you like. Maybe you like chicken, maybe you like beef, pork, salmon, fish. I'm a beef eater. I'm a red meat girl. Okay. You'd have to pay me a lot of money to eat chicken breast at this point in my life. The amount of chicken breast that I choked down for 10 years in the name of dieting really left a bad taste in my mouth. So I don't eat a lot of chicken breasts anymore. I'm more of like a burger and steak kind of girl, or like chicken thighs. Like those are my favorite protein sources, but eat the ones that you like. If you're somebody, if you don't like steak, don't eat steak, right? Eat chicken, eat fish, eat pork, eat whatever. I feel like I eat a good filling dinner around 5 p.m. I get into bed at 10 and instantly feel hungry. And then, well, Jen, there's a couple things that could be. It could just simply not getting enough food in during the day, where you're simply still hungry. Um, it could be a habitual thing, more of just like you're just so used to. So something I want to point out about behaviors is behaviors are just well practiced habits. Okay. We can practice them either way. So, Jen, if you truly feel that you don't feel like physiological hunger in your belly, you could just try to, short wire that circuit, like, because nothing, okay, and I don't think we need to go to bed hungry. I just want to like caveat that. I'm not telling people to go to bed hungry. Um, but and nobody's going to die from going to bed hungry at the same time. Okay. Now, I don't want people to think we have to be hungry on this. Like my clients can tell you very well that hunger is not a problem when on my plan. It's actually like our hunger is very well moderated, which makes it easier to lose weight, right? Because if you're hungry all the time, it's going to be very hard to lose weight. As I said, hunger always wins. It's a biological imperative. But I also want to know, like nobody is going to starve to death. So just a couple of things, Jen, like pay attention to how much you're eating during the day. Are you eating enough protein? Do you need to try to get a little bit more protein in with your meals? And then just pay attention after dinner time at that 10 p.m. to like, just ask yourself, like, am I actually physically hungry right now? Or is this more of just like a well established habit of mine that has now become a behavioral thing because I repeated the habit over and over again of getting out of bed and getting something to eat, right? And you kind of close that feedback loop on it. So a couple of things to pay attention to. I'd say go to bed earlier. Carlene, yeah, can you go to bed earlier and just cut that off? You guys, we go to bed at like 8:30 in my house. I am an early girl and I wake up at like 5 o'clock in the morning. Okay. Okay. Anybody else have any questions? I got 5 minutes left, or any like confusion over what you should be doing. If you're actually, yeah, I would say, I mean, yes, there's nothing wrong with an apple. I would say, as a quick fix, yes, like if you need to eat something, if you do actually feel physical hunger before you go to bed, eat something. Your best bet is probably going to be eat something protein forward, but like, yeah, an apple or something like that isn't going to kill you. But I think the bigger thing is to fix that, because we should not be, and this is going to come in like week 2, we should not feel a lot of hunger later in the day. Okay, we're diurnal animals, meaning that we're awake during the day and we're at night, and our entire appetite signaling, metabolism systems, all of this is hardwired for us to be eating more during the day and less into the evening, nighttime hours. Okay, and I'm going to help you guys kind of rewire the circadian eating, the circadian rhythm of us being more daytime eaters than evening, night, late night eaters. Okay. But for now, we're honoring hunger. So I guess if you're hungry at 10 p.m., you're probably not going to be as hungry as you were, say, your first meal of the day. So honor that hunger with a small meal. Okay. Yeah. So you go to bed later. So that might be, and there's things that we can do throughout this, Carrie, that you're going to learn. Um, that might make this a little bit easier. Um, I'm just thinking, I don't want to go too far down because there's stuff to come that's going to layer about this. So for now, we're going to just honor hunger. If your guys' hunger is still showing up later at night before you go to bed and you need something, go for it. And keep an eye on this as you're establishing and anchoring into full meals, okay? Adult meals. You guys have seen some of my meals. They're right. They're substantial meals. We need to be eating our meals all the way to satiety. If you put 3 eggs on your plate and you eat them all, and you could have eaten more, you didn't eat to satiety then. Then you need to put more food on your plate. This might seem counterproductive, like eating more to lose weight, but we've already tried to eat less and lose weight, and that's not working. So we got to try a different angle here. So you guys got to trust me on this. The more you eat during the day, the less you're going to be eating at night too. Okay. So really focus on anchoring into your meals, especially your first couple of meals. I'll post mine to give you guys some inspiration. And I know everybody else says, Angela, you've posted a couple of them. Teresa, you've always had some pretty good meals too when you post them. So get in there and post your meals. Carlene, I saw your epic meal this morning, your 4 eggs, 4 sausage, and bowl of Greek yogurt. You go, girl. I think that's it, you guys. And I have 2 minutes to spare, so that's pretty good. So let's get after it, okay? I want to see people's meals, see how you're doing. I can give you some feedback. If you had a question or a concern in the comment, just keep tabs about how these things are shaking out as you start following these food fundamentals. And I'll see you guys next week. I'm going to shoot for 6 p.m. next Tuesday. Unless you guys like this time. I don't know. Maybe I'll put a poll into the group and we'll just vote. But as for now, if you guys need anything, just chime into the Facebook group and I'll see you next week. Bye, ladies.
Bye.